The signal that shook Earth's sky the night was calm over Earth's skies. Cities blinked quietly beneath clouds, and the stars above seemed ordinary. But high above, in the silence of space, something moved. Something that should not have been. There, at 2:37 a.m., a deep space listening station in Greenland caught it first. A strange sound that did not match any known pattern. It wasn't static. It wasn't human. It was a voice. Small, scared, and not from this world. Inside the station, Dr. Emily Ward sat frozen, headphones on, staring at the signal on her screen. Her assistant Jake leaned over and whispered, "Is that a child?" Emily didn't answer right away. Her eyes were wide. The signal repeated every 18 seconds, a broken message with the same 5 words in an alien language. But one word was clear in every cycle. Help across the planet. Other stations picked it up too. Japan, Chile, Australia. The message bounced off satellites, echoing through every corner of the sky. Someone, or something, was crying out from deep space. By morning, the United Nations held an emergency meeting. Military leaders, scientists, and politicians filled the room. Screens showed the signal wave, playing it on loop. Some called it a trap. Others said it was a hoax. But one man stood up and silenced the room. "That's not a hoax," said Admiral Marcus Hale. His voice was gravel, rough from years of war. His eyes locked onto the screen like he knew exactly what it was. "That's a plea. And it's real," a younger officer scoffed. "With respect, Admiral, how can you be sure?" Marcus stepped forward and said quietly, "Because I've heard it before. Years ago, in the Delta Pact War." The room went still. Told them a forgotten truth. Earth once had a secret alliance with a race called the Thalari, a peaceful species who helped humanity during its darkest war. But after the war ended, Earth turned inward. The alliance was forgotten, abandoned. "This voice," Marcus said, pointing to the signal, "belongs to their bloodline. They helped us when we had nothing. Now they are calling out and we're acting like cowards." Scientists worked around the clock. They translated more of the message. The voice was from a young girl. She said her people were under attack. Their planet was burning. They had no armies, no weapons. Only a broken transmitter and one last hope, that someone somewhere would hear them. A debate broke out across Earth's media. Should humanity respond? What if it was a trap? What if helping them started another war? But something unexpected happened. People began to share the signal. Online, on news, in music. Artists turned it into a haunting melody. A little girl's cry from the stars became a global heartbeat. Humanity listened, and many could not turn away. Deep underground, Admiral Marcus opened a hidden hangar. Dust covered everything. Old starfighters, battleships, armor from a time Earth wanted to forget. He looked at the rusted metal and said softly, "Wake them up." Engineers returned to forgotten machines. Pilots who once flew among stars were called back. One by one, Earth's Armada began to stir. In secret, they started preparing for a journey no one had taken in decades. Meanwhile, something strange happened with the signal. It changed. The girl's voice became weaker. The message started to break. Static replaced words. The loop grew, slower. It was like a heartbeat fading. Emily Ward checked the readings and whispered, "She's dying." Marcus ordered a jump scan. They locked onto the signal's origin, a distant star system at the edge of known space, a place with no official name marked only as X92. "If we don't go now," Marcus said, "we'll lose her." But the final push came not from leaders or generals, but from Earth's people. A movement swept across the globe. Citizens held vigils. Children wrote letters to the Star Girl. Families lit candles by their windows. The message had become more than a signal. It was a cry that touched something deep in every heart, the need to be heard, to be saved, to not be alone. As the first ships rolled out of hangars, Marcus stood at the front of the command vessel. Valor 1. His face was hard, but his voice was steady. We may be the last hope she has. If we fail her, we fail ourselves. The engines lit up. Earth's skies cracked open as flames of launch fire reached into the clouds. The Armada rose, not for war, but for a promise, to answer a voice that echoed through the void. And far away, across the stars, a small alien girl looked up at her fading screen. Her eyes were wet. Her hands trembled. The world around her burned, but just before the signal broke completely, she whispered one last word. Please. The admirals returned. The signal stopped. For 2 full hours, the alien girl's cry had repeated across the stars. Then it just vanished. No more please. No more heartbeat pulse. Just silence. In the deep-sea command base under Alaska's frozen shelf, Admiral Marcus Hale stood alone in the listening chamber. He stared at the screen. No signal. No sound. Just an empty black line where her voice had been. The technician behind him whispered, "We lost her, sir." Marcus didn't blink. He whispered back, "No, she's still out there, and we're going to find her." 5 hours earlier, President Sarah Lee sat in the Situation Room surrounded by defense leaders, corporate giants, and heads of state. Chaos buzzed in every corner. Some wanted to send drones. Others called for silence. No one agreed on what to do. Then the heavy doors opened. Boots echoed on the stone floor. A tall man in a black coat walked in, his shoulders squared, eyes like ice. Most didn't recognize him, but a few fell quiet, recognizing the old war legend. Admiral Hale? President Lee rose slowly. "You're alive?" Marcus nodded. "Wasn't planning on coming back, but I heard the signal." A general muttered, "We don't need ghosts from old wars." Marcus didn't even look at him. "You do now." He walked to the center of the room, pulled up the star map, and tapped a dark sector labeled X92. 33 years ago, we made a promise. Not to each other, not for politics, but for survival. The Thalari gave us energy tech that saved half our cities from burning during the solar famine, and we gave them one promise. We'd answer if they ever called. He turned to face them. They're calling, but the room remained silent. "What if it's a trick?" a senator asked. "We don't know who else might be listening." Marcus leaned in. "We do nothing, and we watch a child die. Your grandchildren will remember that." The silence cracked. President Lee looked down at her hands. Then she gave a slow, quiet nod. "You'll have your fleet, Admiral, but only what we can spare." Marcus smiled, just slightly. "That'll be enough." 2 hours later, deep inside Earth's most hidden base, Fort Solaris, the Admiral walked through long forgotten halls. Sealed doors hissed open. Dust clung to silent war machines. Giant steel walkers rested like sleeping giants. Old fighter ships lay under tarps like corpses waiting to breathe again. Marcus placed his hand on the control panel. "Reactivate Project Starlance," the AI responded in a cold female voice. "Authorization confirmed. Awakening fleet." Lights flared, alarms blinked, ancient engines roared for the first time in decades. The Admiral stepped out onto the main hangar deck. Below him, dozens of massive ships began to move. Engineers ran, welders sparked, and voice commands echoed as ship names lit up one by one. Valor 1 Defiance Skyhammer. Luna's Wrath Archangel on the far end of the hangar. An enormous ship sat under chains, heavier, darker, older than the rest. The words Black Star were etched into its hull. Once banned. Once feared. "Release it," Marcus said. The commander hesitated. "Sir, the Black Star hasn't flown in 40 years. It's unstable. I said release it." The chains groaned. Lights turned red. And slowly, the most dangerous ship ever built by Earth began to breathe again. Back in space, the signal that had gone dark flickered. On a hidden observation deck of an enemy vessel, a tall alien in golden armor watched, Behind him, other alien leaders stood in shadow. One spoke with a voice like boiling oil. The human signal is reacting. They are mobilizing. The Golden One narrowed his eyes. Let them come. It will be the last time they rise. On Earth, as the fleet prepared, Admiral Marcus visited the old pilot barracks. Most were empty. Most had moved on. But some came back. Commander Tessa Rain, who once crash-landed on a burning moon and walked 3 days to save her squad. Captain Elias Boone, whose voice still gave orders in nightmares. Chief Engineer Rico Hahn, the only man who ever survived direct contact with a black hole weapon. Marcus looked at each of them. This isn't a rescue, he said. This is a message. If we show up with force, they'll listen. If we don't, no one will. Just before launch, a message appeared on every soldier's wristpad. Not from command, not from the president. It was the last echo of the alien girl's voice, a whisper, barely audible, but clear. The sky is falling, please, hurry. The message wasn't being broadcast. It was personal, targeted to the Admiral and his hand-picked team. Someone, or something, wanted only them to come. And in the silence of space, a camera drone from Earth's Scout satellite picked up a strange shape moving near the edge of System X-92. It wasn't natural, it wasn't friendly, and it was heading for the girl. The Armada awakens deep underground. The walls shook as engines screamed to life. Smoke rolled across metal floors. Massive hangars, once silent for decades, now burned with light and fire. Earth's sleeping giants were waking up. Inside control, Room 9 of Fort Solaris, Admiral Marcus Hale stood before a massive glass window. Below him, ship after ship was rising from their cradles like titans stretching after long sleep. How many ships are operational? He asked. 17, sir, Chief Engineer Rico Hahn replied. Another 8 within 48 hours. But Black Star is unstable. Marcus stared at the old beast. The Black Star hummed like a wounded animal. Too much power, too much pain. It'll hold, he said, elsewhere on Earth. Young pilot Jude Marlowe stepped off a civilian transport and stared at the fortified wall of Fort Solaris. It looked like a mountain carved with machines instead of rivers. He carried a single bag and an old photo of his brother, Captain Ben Marlowe, listed as killed in action during the Delta Pact War. But Jude knew one thing. He died saving someone from that alien race, he whispered to himself. And now they need help again. When he showed his ID at the gate, the guard laughed. Rookies like you don't belong in the fleet. But behind the guard, a woman's voice spoke. I'll take him. Commander Tessa Rain stood tall, her silver hair pulled back, her eyes sharp as knives. If he's crazy enough to show up with nothing but a photo, he might just survive. In orbit, the first ship, Valor 1, broke through Earth's clouds and entered space. Its hull gleamed with fresh plating, but battle scars from past wars still lined its sides. Captain Elias Boone sat in the command chair, chewing gum slowly. Feels like old bones still creak, he said. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Vera, smiled. But they still move. One by one, ships joined the sky. Luna's Wrath, Skyhammer, Horizon Fang. The Armada was forming above Earth like a silent promise, but something felt off. An encrypted signal was detected in low orbit. Sir, we're receiving a piggyback code, Vera said. From who? Boone asked. That's just it. It's from inside our fleet. Inside one of the new ships, someone watched the crew from behind the vents. A spy. His eyes were dark, his uniform Earth standard, but his blood wasn't. Behind his human face, he belonged to something older, something waiting in the dark. He tapped a small device and whispered in a strange language. They are moving. Phase 1 complete. On the edge of known space in a forgotten system, a single satellite, barely functioning, picked up something, massive, a fleet, not Earth's. It was shaped like bones with hulls that looked alive. Twisted ships powered by something unknown were gathering, and at the center of it all, a throne of fire floated in space. On it sat a being known only in whispers. The Void King. He wore armor made of dead stars. His mouth never moved, but his voice entered minds like poison. Earth is responding, said one of his lieutenants. The Void King's thoughts pierced them all. Good. Let them come. The girl's signal was bait. Her cries were the match. Earth's hope. We'll burn. Back at Fort Solaris, Marcus stood in a private chamber, watching a memory on a screen, a younger version of himself. The Thalari girl's mother beside him. They were standing on her homeworld, shaking hands. Our people will remember your kindness, she said. Marcus turned to her. And we will never abandon you. He shut off the screen, then turned to Rico. Arm the fleet. Full weapons. Sir? Rico blinked. This was supposed to be a rescue. It still is, Marcus said. But someone else is watching, and they want us blind. During a pre-flight check, Jude Marlowe sat in the cockpit of Skyblade 4. Tessa Rain climbed up beside him. You ever seen real combat? She asked. No, ma'am, he said. She handed him a silver token, a pilot's coin. Scratched, burned. This belonged to your brother. He earned it during the last Thalari evacuation. I kept it safe, now you earn it too. As the fleet neared the launch jump point, alarms rang. One ship, Echo Vanguard, exploded mid-air, breaking into a cloud of fire and metal. We've been compromised, shouted Elias Boone. Enemy tech inside our launch core, Rico confirmed. Someone hacked the reactor. Marcus barked. Lock down every system, check every crew, seal the fleet. But it was too late. The spy activated a hidden beacon. Across the galaxy, the Void King opened his mind. Earth's fleet is moving. Activate the gate. Bring them into the trapdoor, a portal. A black swirling gate of nightmare began to grow near System X-92. As Valor 1 prepared for jump, Marcus looked at the star map. The signal from the girl flashed once more. Not words this time, just coordinates. Just a whisper. You're being watched. He clenched his jaw. We jump in 3 minutes, he ordered. In deep space, the black star weighted its lights red. Its core unstable. No crew yet. Just darkness. But then a light flickered. A pair of eyes opened. Not human. And a voice. Old, metal, broken, whispered from the control panel. Someone has come back. For war. Shadows in the stars, the fleet jumped. One by one, Earth's ships disappeared into glowing portals, their engines stretching across space as they entered System X-92. What they expected was a damaged planet, maybe ruins, maybe signs of a battle. What they saw instead was nothing. Black space. Cold. Silent. Where's the planet? Jude Marlowe asked, pressing his face to the window of Skyblade 4. His squad leader said nothing. Her hand hovered near the weapon controls, on the bridge of Valor 1. Admiral Marcus stared at the star map. The Thalari planet should have been right there. Instead, only a dim red sun hovered in the distance and a thick fog of space dust wrapped around them like smoke. Rico Han checked the readings twice. This system is wrong, he whispered. The mass is off. The gravity. It's fake. Fake? Marcus frowned. Someone's feeding us false readings. This isn't the Thalari system. Someone pulled us off course mid-jump. You mean we've been redirected? Captain Elias Boone growled. Someone inside the fleet? Before anyone could answer, static screamed across every screen, and then, her voice, the alien girl, weaker, trembling, barely a whisper. Turn back, please. It's watching. Every ship froze. On the radar, something began to move. First, it looked like shadows. Then, shapes, thousands of them. Ships, not human, not Thalari. Long, twisted metal like bones and teeth, wrapped in glowing veins of red energy. They floated toward the fleet in complete silence, like hunters in fog. Inside one of Earth's cruisers, the spy, still hiding under a false human face, opened a channel to the Void King. They have arrived. The trap is set. He turned to the ship's fuel core and pulled a device from his jacket. A pulse bomb. On Valor 1, Admiral Marcus's voice echoed across the fleet. Prepare for first contact. Hold formation. Do not fire unless provoked. But as the message went out, the first explosion hit. Ship Nova Flame was torn apart from the inside. Fire, bodies, and metal flew into the void. On Skyhammer, red gas leaked into the vents. On Luna's Wrath, all lights went out. Then came the voice. Not the girl's, but his. The Void King. No face appeared on the screens. Only a voice in their minds. Cold, deep, ancient. You followed the signal, like insects to flame. Now burn with the rest of your kind. And suddenly, the enemy fleet moved. Fast. Too fast. Alien weapons rained down like meteors, cutting through shields, piercing hulls, disabling engines. In Space Earth's fleet broke formation. Panic spread. Pilots screamed into comms. On Skyblade 4, Jude Marlowe saw 3 alien fighters chasing his squad leader. He flew hard into their path, pulling fire away. "Kid, you're insane," she shouted. "Just don't let me die for nothing," Jude snapped back. In the command room of Valor 1, "They knew we were coming," Marcus said. "They knew every ship, every route. There's a traitor in the fleet." Rico turned pale. "And this isn't a normal fight. It's a trap." "But why?" The Admiral narrowed his eyes. "They're not trying to kill us all. Not yet. They're trying to isolate us, to find something." "The girl?" Boone asked. "No," Marcus said. "The Black Star. Deep in the hangar of Black Star, no crew. No movement. Yet the ship hummed. The AI inside had awakened. Long ago it was sealed because it was too dangerous. Built to destroy planets. Designed to fight gods. But now, it waited, and it knew someone was coming. One of the enemy ships landed on its surface. An alien soldier walked toward the entrance, dragging a strange device before he could enter. The hull of Black Star pulsed, and a voice whispered from within, "Not without a fight." The ship opened a side cannon and obliterated the soldier in a single blast. Back in the battle, Admiral Marcus made a decision. "We need the Black Star online. It's our only chance." Rico looked terrified. "Sir, that ship's AI was banned. It doesn't take orders, it thinks." "We don't have time for clean rules," Marcus said. "We either break the chain or die in it." He sent the override code. Deep in space, the Black Star responded. Engines igniting. Power core awakening. Targeting systems online. It rose slowly and aimed its main cannon. The enemy fleet paused. Then one of them spoke. They woke the ghost. But in a nearby ship, the traitor moved again. He activated a beacon, hidden in his chest. A signal flared, not to the Void King, but to someone else. Another presence, older than even the Void King, and far across the galaxy. It opened one eye. On the Thalari homeworld, the girl was still alive. Barely. She lay in a metal cage, surrounded by machines draining energy from her mind. But her spirit burned. "They're coming," she whispered. "They heard me." A guard laughed. "They're dying." But the girl closed her eyes and whispered the word she'd learned from humans. Hope. The silent planet space was quiet again. Too quiet. After the battle in the shadows, the enemy fleet suddenly retreated. They didn't chase, didn't press their advantage. They simply vanished into black space. On board Valor 1, Admiral Marcus stared at the star map. "They didn't want to destroy us," he said. "They wanted us to keep going." "But why let us live?" Rico asked. Marcus turned to the girl's last transmission. Her soft voice echoed through the speakers again. "They want you to find me." Coordinates locked. The fleet moved slowly, now damaged but alive. 15 ships remained. 2 were lost in the ambush. Another, Luna's Wrath, was drifting with a hole in its side, its crew trapped in stasis. They had arrived in orbit over the Thalari homeworld, but what they saw broke every heart. The planet was there, but it was wrong. Gray clouds covered every inch. No sunlight pierced the surface. Towers once tall and glowing now leaned broken, their tops snapped like dead trees. On Skyblade 4, Jude Marlowe leaned closer. to the window. It looks frozen. No, Tessa Rain said beside him. Not frozen. Emptied. On the surface, a landing team stepped onto the planet's soil. The boots of 12 soldiers touched ash and silence. Ruins surrounded them. Buildings made of blue stone shattered. Roads cracked open. No signs of life. Commander Rain held her scanner. No movement. No life. Not even insects. It's like someone erased the soul of this place. Rico's voice came through the comms from orbit. Be careful. We're picking up strange energy readings, not Thalari. Something else. What kind of energy? Marcus asked. Rico hesitated. The kind we found near the Black Star. Deeper into the city, the team moved through an abandoned council chamber. Alien murals lined the walls. Art from a peaceful race. Stories of growth, healing, knowledge. But they were burned. Someone had tried to erase their history. At the center of the chamber was a statue of a mother Thalari holding her child. A single word was carved at the base, trust. Behind the statue, a hidden stairwell. They followed it. Underground, the air grew colder. Dust fell from the ceiling. Pipes hissed. They entered a massive room filled with empty pods, cryotubes. Thousands of them. Commander Rain stepped closer. They were hiding. The entire population was placed in stasis. But every pod was empty. Where did they go? Jude whispered. A sudden noise made them spin. A soft hum. A flicker of blue light. One pod still powered. One heartbeat detected. They ran to it. Inside was the girl, eyes closed. Skin pale. Her small hand pressed weakly against the glass. Above, in orbit, Rico shouted into comms. We're detecting a power surge beneath the surface. A pulse matching the Void King's technology. Marcus narrowed his eyes. He knew we'd find her. This is his next move. On the ground, the pod unlocked with a hiss. The girl fell into Tessa Rain's arms, gasping for breath. Her body was too light, too weak. She looked up, blinking. Humans? Jude nodded. We heard your signal. She began to cry. They took them all. My people. They turned them into machines. What? Commander Rain asked. The girl lifted her hand and pointed to the wall. The team turned on their lights. Symbols were scratched into the wall in blood. By small hands. Help us. They wear our faces now. They burned the stars. They left the old one here. Suddenly, the ground shook. From the far end of the underground room, a metal door burst open. An alien creature, twisted, half flesh, half machine, crawled into view. It wore Thalari skin, but its eyes glowed red. Cables dangled from its back. It looked like the girl. Jude raised his weapon. What is that? That's my sister, the girl whispered. Or what's left of her. It screamed. A sound not natural, and charged. Fight broke out. The team opened fire. Energy blasts echoed through the room. The creature moved fast. It tore through one soldier, slammed another against the wall. Commander Rain pulled the girl close and shouted, Retreat! They ran, climbing back up the stairs. Jude stayed behind just long enough to throw a charge. The explosion collapsed, the tunnel, sealing the creature below. Back on the ship, the girl was taken to medical. Machines scanned her. Her mind was damaged, but she remembered one thing clearly. He watches from the center of the world, she whispered. He feeds on memories. Marcus asked, What is he? She looked at him with tear-filled eyes. He is the one who ends names, the one who turns hope into silence. In the deepest part of the planet, something stirs. A machine, built from Thalari bodies and ancient bones, begins to rise. Its eyes glow red. Its core is not a reactor, but a soul. And its mind speaks. One sentence into the stars, bring me the human admiral. Battle for the lost ones. The silence didn't last. Within hours of rescuing the alien girl, alarms screamed across Valor, one and every surviving ship in Earth's fleet. Incoming. Multiple signatures. On the command deck, Admiral Marcus, stood like stone. Before him, holograms bloomed with danger. Enemy ships, dozens of them closing in fast. But these weren't like the ships they had seen before. They were familiar. Those ships. They're Thalari models, Captain Elias Boone said. But twisted. They're copies, Rico muttered. They used the Thalari's own tech and rebuilt it, to look like friends. Marcus clenched his fist. They're not just trying to kill us, and they're trying to break us. On board the medical bay, the alien girl, now known as Kayla, struggled to speak. He's using our bodies, our memories. He doesn't kill us. He traps us, makes us obey. Jude Marlowe sat beside her. We'll stop him. Kayla shook her head. You don't understand. He doesn't fight for victory. He fights so others remember nothing. He wants to erase us, our names, our families, our worlds, like we never existed. Minutes later, the enemy fleet surrounded them. The planet was below, death above. There was no escape. We hold the line, Marcus said. Protect the girl at all costs. And then the sky fell. The enemy opened fire. Earth's ships moved to defend. But every second, more enemy vessels appeared. Silent, fast, deadly. Each one launched, small pods toward the planet. They're deploying ground units, Tessa Rain said. They're coming for the girl. Marcus gave the order. Defend the surface. All available units. Now. On the ground, the once silent city lit up again, but now with flames. Hundreds of enemy soldiers dropped from the sky. They were not alive. They were twisted Thalari, their skin stretched, their eyes glowing red, their voices empty. They moved in perfect silence. They didn't bleed. They didn't scream. They just marched. And in the center of them walked one figure taller than the rest, a Thalari elder. Kayla's former teacher. Her face had been gentle once. Now it was a mask of metal. Kayla saw her on the screen and whispered, She used to sing to us. Earth's soldiers took position. Commander Rain, Jude, and the rest of the strike team set up defenses around the bunker. Rico worked to power old planetary shields. Pilots flew overhead, firing at incoming pods. And in the chaos, Kayla stepped forward. You need me out there. Marcus turned. No, you stay in this ship. They're not just hunting me, they're using me. My thoughts, my memories. If I link to their network, I might be able to slow them down. And if you fail, then they'll control me too. Marcus didn't blink. I'll pull the trigger myself. Kayla nodded. Deal. The battle began. On the streets, explosions lit the skies. Earth soldiers fought wave after wave of enemy drones and twisted bodies. They fell back, then pushed forward again. On the rooftop, Jude held position with a sniper rifle. He watched as the enemy closed in. And then, he saw her. His brother, Captain Ben Marlowe. Except, Ben was dead. That's impossible, Jude whispered, but the figure looked just like him. Same face, same armor, same scar. The fake Ben looked up at him and smiled. Jude froze. Don't listen to it, Tessa shouted, grabbing his shoulder, but the fake Ben whispered across the comms. You left me, Jude. Now leave her. Jude fired. The fake Ben dropped, but Jude's hand shook. They're using our memories too. Inside the network, Kayla, connected. A wave of pain hit her as thousands of voices screamed in her mind, her people trapped, repeating moments of fear. She reached deeper and found the core, a digital heart, burning like fire. At the center of it stood a throne of bones, and on it, the Void King. He stared at her through the network. You should have stayed silent, child, Kayla screamed. You stole their voices. Now hear mine. She sent a pulse into the system. All around the battlefield, enemy soldiers paused. Some dropped, others began shaking. A few remembered. One Thalari soldier looked around, confused. Kayla, he whispered. She saw him through a camera. Feed, uncle? She cried. He looked down at his weapon and turned it away from the humans. We were asleep. More soldiers twitched. Some fell to their knees. Kayla was waking them up. But it wasn't over. The ground shook violently. A massive figure rose from under the city, a war machine built from Thalari elders, bones, and old machines. Its voice was not natural. "You will not break my silence," it growled. Kayla collapsed. "It's him, the Hollow One, the Void King's voice." The machine turned toward the humans and fired. Tessa Rain's squad was hit. 2 soldiers died instantly. Jude screamed, firing again and again. Nothing worked. Marcus gave the order. Launch, the Black Star. From orbit, the ship that had been feared now roared back to life. Its cannon charged, its AI spoke. Target confirmed. Hollow construct. Primary objective: silence the silencer. The beam fired, bright blue cutting through the sky like a god's sword. The Hollow One screamed, then shattered. The silence lifted around the battlefield. The enemy fell still. The sky cleared. A soft wind returned, and Kayla opened her eyes. "They're free." Marcus knelt beside her. "We're not done yet. But you gave them a voice again." She smiled weakly. "One voice is enough to break a world of silence." In the dark parts of space, the Void King rose from his throne. His eyes burned like suns. His body cracked with power, and his voice echoed across galaxies. "You dared break my curse, now face me." A promise written in the star space burned. What once was quiet darkness now boiled with light. The Void King had risen. His voice echoed through every channel, through comms, screens, even minds. "You broke my silence. Now I will break your stars." His fleet appeared in waves. Ships forged from pain, powered by stolen souls, shaped by hatred. Each ship carried the memories of fallen Thalari. Each one burned with silence. On board Valor 1, Admiral Marcus Hale stood in silence. Staring at the swarm heading their way, Rico whispered behind him, "That's not a fleet, that's a funeral." Marcus didn't blink. "Then we give them resurrection." On the surface of the Thalari world, the girl, Kayla, stood on the temple's highest tower, wind whipping her white hair. Behind her, survivors stirred, hundreds of her people slowly waking up from the Void King's control, scared, trembling, unsure if they were alive or just dreaming. Kayla raised her voice, soft but clear. "We are not gone. We are not erased. The Void did not win. And now we rise." The Thalari, once broken, stood beside her. Some still wore armor, others held nothing but stones, but all of them remembered who they were. Above them, the war began. Earth's ships launched from orbit. Valor 1, Skyhammer, Archangel, and the mighty Black Star led the charge. Jude Marlowe flew among them in Skyblade 4, Tessa Rain on his wing. "We fly together," she said through comms. "All the way," Jude replied. Missiles roared, lasers flashed, ships clashed in the void. But the Void King's fleet was different. Every shot they fired echoed with whispers, dark thoughts, confusion. Some pilots froze. Others wept. One man tore off his headset screaming. The Void King wasn't fighting to win. He was fighting to erase. Inside Valor 1, Marcus stood at the front of the bridge. "Focus," he barked. "Block the voices. Remember who you are. Remember why you fight." Captain Boone stood beside him, bleeding from a cut on his face. "They want us to forget?" Marcus looked straight ahead. "Then we remember louder." He activated a wide broadcast, sending his voice across every ship, every pilot. "Listen to me. We are not ghosts, we are not shadows. We are human, and humans keep promises. That girl called for help, and we answered. We do not vanish into the dark. We light it up." On the Black Star, the AI's voice returned. "Target locked. Void King's throne ship. Risk level, final." Rico stared at the data. "That cannon will burn half the fleet if it misses," Marcus answered without hesitation. "Then don't miss." Deep in the battle, the Void King appeared. His ship, A massive throne of steel, bone, and black stars, dwarfed every other vessel. It moved like a living god, every motion bending light around it. He spoke directly into Marcus's mind. Your soul is old. Your bones are tired. Why do you fight, little human? Marcus answered, aloud, because I promised. He activated the Black Star's cannon, but before he fired, something moved in space. Hundreds of small signals, Kayla's people, they launched from the surface, not in warships, but in old gliders, personal crafts, repurposed mining pods. What are they doing? Rico asked. Kayla appeared on the screen. We hold him. You strike. The Thalari formed a circle around the Void King's throne. Their old memories, once stolen, now returned. Each ship hummed with willpower. The Void King screamed in rage. You dare stand against silence with broken ships? Kayla's voice whispered across space. We stand with memory. The final blow. Marcus gave the order. Fire! The Black Star roared. Its cannon lit up space. The beam of pure light ripped through the Void King's throne. For a second, silence. Then, a shattering scream. The throne exploded. The fleet crumbled. The stars were silent again. But this time, it was peace. After the battle, the Thalari began to rebuild. Kayla stood beside Marcus on the balcony of the restored tower. We owe you everything, she said. Marcus shook his head. No, we owed you, and now we're even. Jude and Tessa landed beside them. Jude looked up at the stars. What happens now? Kayla smiled. Now, we remember. Together, across the Galaxia beacon was lit. Not a cry for help, but a signal of hope. Earth and the Thalari created a new alliance, one written not on paper, but in the stars themselves. A shared promise. One voice. Never forgotten. Final scene deep in. The ruins of the Void King's throne. Something flickers, not a voice, not a body, just a name. Burning slowly, but not gone. Yet,